And we're live. All right, let's go. Let's go. So, as we know, tax time just ended for many of us, not everybody. But let's talk about some very important topics today that will help you in the future. Because, see, the thing is, a lot of times we wait to the last minute. Y'all know who y'all are. You know who you are. You wait to the last minute and now you're scrambling, your accountant mad at you. And I can even be fully transparent and say that that was me this year. But as my accountant knows, that's not my typical me. It's because I relocated last year. And then after I moved again. So obviously that threw a wrench in my whole schedule. But I promise that will not be me this year. So it's really good to work on a schedule with looking at your business finances, preparing for them, getting ready to file taxes, and what should you be doing all year anyway to prepare for tax time? Because tax time is 365. It's not just when they say, okay, file your income taxes. Taxes is 365, and there are things you can do all the year. So we're going to talk about that today. I brought people with me. Of course, y'all know I always bring my people. So I'd love to welcome the wonderful Camari Ellis, which is a personal friend of mine. And I'm just going to go ahead and call him a tax guru because this brother is really, really knowledgeable. He's knowledgeable about history and he's knowledgeable about money and helping businesses uh, get it together. Okay. Because sometimes there's no better way to say it, but we just need to get it together. So go ahead and introduce yourself, tell them what you do.
I mean, basically, you just call me a nerd, and I'm okay with it.
And I'm a nerd. So takes one to know one.
That's right. That's right. But
Nerd is the new sexy. Forget them.
nerds run the world.
They better get one of us. They better get one of us. They better get a nerd.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Camari Ellis. I've been in tax and financial services over 35 years. Last time I counted, this tax season was my 35th or 36th tax season. I lost count. I lost count. Get kind of old. But I talk about tax all the time because I believe tax is the bedrock of all financial transactions. And if your taxes aren't right, none of your other wealth gathering financial transaction things will be right.
Now, that's a bar right there. And I'm gonna tell you why that's a bar. Because let's just say, for example, we've all seen the people online telling you to write everything off and telling you, oh, well, just this, and you have the people's like, oh, I can get you plenty of deductions, I can get you plenty of money back, or I can. The problem comes in when you're trying to level up and you want to get a loan, or you're trying to, or I mean, gotta bring it up, PPP loans. A lot of those things was based on your income. But if you wrote everything off, you didn't have much. So when you go to purchase a house, when you're going to get a loan, the bank is looking at you like, well, you said that you didn't make much. So why am I giving you money? You want me to
Right.
give you money on this little amount? So, like he said, you have to do right by it because you don't want the alphabet boys sending you that letter. You don't. I know
So
I do.
wait till you see what I do after I get off this live. Somebody wants to write off a pink vehicle. Pink.
Mary Kay.
Nope, it's not Mary Kay. If it was Mary Kay, I'd give him a little bit of grace, but it's not. But watch and wait till you see. You won't crack up. But you're right. Because for whatever reason, when you're trying to level up, trying to come up, the bank's going to need something for a loan, whether it's a mortgage or personal loan. If you want to bring partners on, a lot of times they want to do due diligence on you. I mean, they want to do good research. They want to see what your track record is. And so if you've written off everything in your business, there's really no track record there. But to your point, you said tax season is all year round. I agree. So we have tax filing season up till April 15th, and then April 15th, you should have tax planning season. So we're in tax season all year round. Um, and everybody can take advantage of the tax code, whether you're a 9 to 5 employee or a business owner. Now, Business owners and investors have way more, I hate the term loophole, but let's use it for ease. They have way more loopholes. They have way more tools to lower their output in taxes if they set up a good plan. And there's no one product or strategy that makes up a good tax plan. It's multiple, and they all have to fit what you have going on. And so when you see people saying, "Oh, get a G wagon," or write everything off on your own, but the question is, does it align with your overall strategy? I can't hear you.
Okay, so let's start from the basics. I want to open up a business. So I filed my LLC, I got my EIN, I got my Duns and Bradstreet, all of I follow the little checklist
Can I
that
stop
I've
you again?
seen.
Everybody doesn't need an LLC to start a business. You do
Thank
not
you.
need an LLC to start a business. Now, I just told you this. I'm starting a new site to do more education around business. It's called the LLC Tax Guide, the LLCTaxGuide.com. It's not up yet, but I'm going to put something up soon. You do not need an LLC to start a business. Everybody that has a social security number is a business owner if they want to be. If you want to stand on the middle of a corner or at the end of a block, buy yourself a case of water, let's say for $50 and you want to sell them, you're a business owner. Now you got to do and apply to the laws of the land. Always follow the laws of the land. You might need a license or whatever you need, but you don't need anything fancy schmancy to start a business. The biggest thing is just starting and knowing what your why is. Because I see a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to start a business," but then they figure out stress doesn't work good for them. And it's like, okay, I really don't have a lot of money. I was chasing this thing. I'm broke now. I'm facing eviction. I'm facing shutoffs. I need a job. Well, guess what? It wasn't nothing wrong with getting a job in the first place. But there's a lot of people out here saying that you got to do X, Y, and Z in order to be great. But here's the reality: personal finance is personal. You always have to do what's in your best interest. And listen, becoming a business owner is great, but you want to know where the real cheat code is? It's that sweet spot, what we call side hustles, where you have a job and you also have something else going on. The job is to maintain you, to keep you secure, to build a nest egg, to build a foundation. And then while you're building that foundation, you got something else going on the side, whether it's a business, you might be crocheting, you might be doing hair on the side, you might be washing cars on the side, whatever it is. If that builds up more cash flow, more money, more savings, clientele. And then once you get to a stable place, you can step away. Now, me, full transparency, right? I know all these things, but I didn't have the luxury to start my business like that, right? That's the ideal thing. And so you learn the difference between theory, what they teach in school, and application, what you actually have to do in real life. So a lot of times when you can do the textbook thing, it's wonderful. It's less stressful. But me, I was laid off. I had to start my business. I had to get started. I was lucky because I'm a second generation accountant, but that wasn't the plan. Mike Tyson always says everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, I got punched in the, proverbial face and I had to get busy.
Okay, so if you had the opportunity now and you were going to start it, how would you set up your business finances?
I would set them up the way I kind of did, right? The name of my business kind of came out of a partnership that I started before. The name of my business is the Philly Tax Team, right? I picked that name because I wanted local SEO traffic. So I wanted to pinpoint things that were going on in my hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, because Philly, especially the business owners and real estate owners in Philly, have specific things they need help with. For example, if you are a real estate owner in Philadelphia, You have to file your taxes every year. If you do not file your taxes every year, you can't file what's called your rental license or get your rental license. If you can't get a rental license, you can't evict anybody. And if know anybody that's in the landlording business, which I know somebody is, you want to be able to have that power to evict somebody if they don't pay rent. Legally, that is. Because I don't promote anything illegal because I don't want nobody going to jail. So
Right. We don't want the alphabet boys either.
no. But like I said, you can start a business just yourself. And the reason why I don't push LLC for everybody to go that route is because when you do an LLC, which basically means you register with your state, whatever state you're in, and you also register with the IRS. But here's the thing. When you register with certain states, let's say California, if you register an LLC in California, you have to pay California $800 a year, no matter if you've made a penny or 100 pennies. You are still liable to them for $800 in a year. A lot of first time new start businesses can't afford that. If you're in Maryland, it's $300. New York is either 3, 5, or 8. I get them confused. Massachusetts is a couple dollars. So a lot of times you just want to focus on your business. Also, a lot of people always ask me, well, where should I incorporate at? You should incorporate wherever you're doing business. So a lot of times people ask me, should I do?
So I don't need to incorporate in Delaware.
No, unless you live in Delaware. You don't have to do Nevada or Wyoming. Everybody's talking about that. Here's the thing that happens for my people in Delaware. You have to file an annual report in Delaware. If you're in Nevada, I'm not sure about Nevada and Wyoming, but more than likely you got to file an annual report in each one of these states that you're registered in. And you got to file, you have to file a tax return in the state where you do the most of your business. So that's extra administrative work. That's extra money you're going to have to pay your accountant, right? You are not at, I don't know, $100,000, $250,000. You probably shouldn't be thinking about doing any of that stuff.
So you're trying to say that if I'm not even making any money in my business, it don't matter where?
9 times out of 10, no. There are certain specific situations where it might matter, but for 99.9% of the people, it doesn't matter. Just being honest.
Okay. So I got my finances set up. I got that situated. So what should I be doing? I just started my business. I'm moving and shaking. I'm getting customers. I have money coming in now, starting to, be an actual business owner because now I'm actually selling a good or a service and receiving money in return.
Yes.
What am I supposed to do like that now that would help me prepare for tax?
The books. Big books. So I would have a business account and a personal account. Sometimes it's hard to get a business account because there might be minimums. They might want $1,000 minimum to avoid any monthly fees or something like that. In that instance, you could find a personal account. Just run everything through your personal account. Every thing you sell, every time you receive money, it goes into that account that's designated just for your business. So we've got Nia's candles, right? Every time Nia sells a candle, the money goes into that account. Every time Nia buys wax and molds and other holders of wicks, this stuff, everything is spent out of that account. And what I would suggest, I strongly suggest, you use something like a QuickBooks. There's other platforms you can use, but I use QuickBooks a lot, and I recommend my clients to use it. Categorize your expenses on an ongoing basis, hopefully once a week. But if you've got a decent amount of volume, or at least, let me back up. If you've got a low amount of volume, you could probably get away with once a month, once a quarter. But if you're doing some serious volume, I would do it once a week. Just go in and categorize everything until you get to the point where you can hire a full-time bookkeeper, right? That bookkeeping is the real cheat code, y'all. That's what everybody wants. Nia brought up PPP loans earlier. A lot of times, a lot of business owners couldn't get PPP loans because they didn't do the taxes. They couldn't do the taxes because their books weren't in order. And so once your books are in order, you can start running projections. You can say, you know what? I make $10,000 a month, every month, consistently. Oh, and guess what? Nia's Candles is coming into, let's say, holiday shopping season later on this year. September, October, November, December. She's been doing it for a couple of years. And it's hypothetical, everybody. This is totally made up. You don't sell candles, right?
No.
I don't want to mislead nobody. So she's been doing it for a couple of years. Now she can go back and look and say, you know what? Instead of $10,000 a month, I'm making $20,000 a month. And
I
maybe,
need to sell candles. Sound like I need to sell candles.
I mean, you could do a Nia's travel candle. You're always going somewhere, right? So you
I'm
could
just joking.
you do a Costa Rica themed candle, a Mexico or Mexico themed candle, a um a Carnival candle. No, you're not
Mm. Stick to money moves.
well, that could be a money move though.
I'm not passionate about making candles.
All right, don't do it. And that is the thing.
It's not gonna last long.
Yeah, you want to try to do something that you're passionate about, right? All jokes aside, right? And the reason why I think the best adage for this, I heard somebody say is that anytime you're in business, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have headaches. The passion is the thing that helps you push through and stay in the business. Because
When
as
those times come that you feel like you can't push through, you have to have something that you're passionate about. For me, when it comes to my bookkeeping, what I do is I put a date, because if you're someone who can't, like you said, when you're working up to the point where you can hire a bookkeeper,
right,
put a date on my calendar every month
right,
so that that day I go, I look, I make sure I'm uploading whatever receipt to that transaction. I'm making sure that I'm categorizing each of my transactions. If you do that, like you, of course, you want to do it more frequently, but when that calendar reminder comes, and I know I haven't done it, that's my note to go and do it for that entire month because waiting to the end of the year,
it's a headache.
and not only that, you're going to pay. So if you got a bookkeeper or an account, whoever, the accountant is there to file your taxes. They're not there to clean up your books. That's not what they're there to do. And if you want them to do it, it's going to take them time because first of all, now it's tax season, so they're getting flooded. They're getting flooded with tax filings. And for two, might cost you a little, might cost you a lot,
But it's going to
but it's
cost.
going to cost you.
I know where you got that from. I know what show you got that from.
Mhm.
That
A
is a fact.
plumber.
The plumber from Martin.
Yep.
That's,
Classic, classic.
that's one of my favorite sayings. It's going to cost you. And here's the thing about cost, right? Cost comes in many different ways. It's not always money. It could be time. And what do they say? Time is money, right? So it can cost
Time costs more than money because you can lose money and get it back.
that, right? You can't get time back at
You
all.
can't get time back.
But not just time, right? Also frustration, mental health, right? Mental capacity. All those things are things that nobody talks about when they talk about business. For example, I'll give you all a sneak peek into my life. Last week, my aunt called me and said she's got a leaky pipe. I said, Auntie, I'll come. And my auntie always looked out for me when I was young. So, I try to look out when I can. And she's on a fixed income, and she was like, I'm looking for a plumber. I said, well, let me take a look at it. I looked at it. It wasn't a hard thing to do. I did it, but the problem was it took me 2 days because my dad taught me stuff I've done. I've been in real estate all my life, whether in property management, sometimes ownership. Um, so I just fixed it for her, but it wound up cost me 2 days. maybe 12 hours. And I said, you know what? I can't do that no more. I can't afford to do that no more. So I'm going to create a family fund. I'll probably put 500 to $1,000 in it.
I had this conversation with Stephen Hughes on the way to FinCon this year.
Really? Well,
Mhm.
I guess I was involved. I love Steve. Like Steve, well, both of y'all dope. Steve's dope. Like
You know, he in Georgia now.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, he's in Georgia.
Okay. Okay. But I said, you know what? I'm going to create a fund at any time somebody needs help because I don't like saying no for my real ones, right? All right, you need something? I got $200 for you. If it's something if I ain't gotta be
So,
involved.
so that's kind of what we talked about, creating a family fund
Yeah,
and putting a certain amount in it every year.
yeah,
So every year he replenishes it. And anybody who borrows from it is supposed to put the money back. But if they don't put the money back, then the fund is, that much lower, but it's on them.
right.
And the fund is getting depleted. And it's like, hey, that's what I was able to afford to give. So if y'all deplete it, it's above me now.
And what I'll probably do is I'll probably put in like $500 to start, and then I'll take like $10 a week or $10 whatever, and just constantly pay to that phone because I know there's going to be times where somebody dies, somebody's got to go out of town, whatever, something's going to happen. And then I also know that there's going to be people that don't pay me back.
Mm-hmm.
But as I get older now, I don't want headaches. So that costs like the headaches is like I don't want to bother with this. Can money solve this? If this is a quick money solve, which
It's protecting
is
your peace.
right. I want to protect my peace.
It's protecting your peace, essentially, is what it's doing. At the end of the day, you like you said, you don't like saying no. Um,
Not
but
wrong.
that way you're not saying no. And if they deplete it, they deplete it.
Right. Right. But those are the things you have to think about when you're a business as well. What's the
Mm-hmm.
best use of your time? Because even
Ooh,
when we look at that, right, we looking at business. Is me answering my phone the best use of my time? Yes and no. I'm going to say more likely no. Though I can
right.
I can hire that. I can hire that to someone that's 15, 20, $25 an hour. I'm busy making, let's say, $200 an hour if I'm concentrating on my work.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we get caught up in this. So I think it's a couple of things. A lot of times we get caught up in different aspects of the business. And so we, do things that we could delegate to somebody else. A lot of times we have control issues, and that makes it difficult for us to delegate it to somebody else.
Right.
And then third, a lot of times we have financial issues. Like maybe we have a decent amount of money coming in, but we are signing up for all the classes, all the intensives. We have all the applications and all the gadgets and gadgets. And the money that we could be using to pay for somebody else to do a task, which would be way more efficient for our business, we're paying it out in apps.
Yeah.
So essentially our business is not lean. I feel like those are three main, I guess you could say financial mistakes that businesses make, that they could essentially hire somebody out and they don't have to worry about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
So if I have a business, I've set up my finances, I've been running my business, I'm making my $10,000, $20,000 a month with my candles, and tax time rolls around. Now it's January 2025. Oh, we gotta now I buy candles. I may not be a candle maker, but I am a candle consumer. That I am. I even buy candles for my swag bags for my workshops.
Right.
Um, mhm. So what do I do? Like I've been doing my bookkeeping. My bookkeeping is on point, but it's January 2025. Can I just go file my taxes now? It's
Well,
tax time.
let me back up. I will say this. You probably should have your accountant look over your books before the end
Hmm.
of. tax season. Why?
Hmm.
A lot of times people will miscategorize things all the time. And
Who,
so,
me?
not you. I know your books are impeccable.
Probably me. No, probably me too. I mean, I'm human.
Yeah. But you brought up PPP earlier. And
Mhm.
so it jogged my mind that people that did get PPP loans miscategorized the money that they got. So the loan money that they got, oftentimes people miscategorized it in their books and they recorded it as revenue or sales. That's incorrect. It's a loan, right?
Yeah, this is a liability.
Correct. But people miscategorize it. And so just imagine you got
I kind
$20,000.
of understand why they did because
Right.
they were anticipating and assuming it's getting forgiven.
Yeah, but even so, they shouldn't have put it there.
I'm trying to give up.
But again, I had to go through and correct. So you want to go through and double check your books. Make sure your chart of account is set up right. Chart of account, fancy accounting term.
Not
It's
only that, you don't want that to be a part. You want to pay taxes on it.
no, you
You adding
don't.
it to. What I'm
That's,
saying, you adding it to your revenue.
that's right. That's right. That's unnecessary. That's wasteful.
Yeah, you
But you
paying
want to
the IRS more money than you need to.
exactly, exactly. But you want to make sure that your chart of accounts is set up correctly, which means that's just a fancy accounting term to say, what does my business look like? How am I categorizing these expenses? Let's say, again, Nia's Candles Shop, wax. How are you categorizing wax? Is it office expense? It's a
Cost of goods
supplies.
sold.
Very good. Very good. It is what's called a cost of goods sold. And that's kind of a separate category in and of itself. And I don't want to bore y'all with these technicals,
Yeah,
but
putting a business degree to use.
there you go. There you go. But you want to just make sure that, your cell phone bill is recorded as an advertisement, things like that. So that's very important. But your question was, can you just go file your taxes, right?
Yeah, can I just go? It's January 1st. It's tax filing season. Let's go.
You can
Run me
file
my
yourself.
coins.
You can do them yourself for free
I don't have to wait for anything.
while there's an official tax season open. So you got to wait when
What's
everything's
that?
expires. Every year, the date is different. So once that date is there, you can say, all right, I want to file. I want to file with my favorite accountant, somebody on the internet, your favorite software company. A lot of times you can put it in, especially if you are at a low income barrier, you can do it. And also, there's a lot of free resources too, with let's say VITA, which is the IRS's program for what they call it volunteer income tax assistance. So anybody believe $70,000 a year in income can get their taxes done for free, usually. And so the IRS will sponsor various nonprofits and cities to encourage them to do taxes for low income people. So that's one thing you can do. But then to answer your question here, you can file your taxes. Let's just say you got an accountant. You get them your profit and loss statement, sometimes your balance sheet, depending upon how your business is set up. You pay the man, you give the man a
So how
tip.
do I get that? How do I get my profit and loss statement?
Well, you should be able to generate it from your reports, from your, I'm having brain fog, y'all. You should be able to pull that from your QuickBooks or any accounting software you have. Like I said,
Correct. So
QuickBooks, but
I yeah, I was going to just say, like,
you,
so typically you will have some type of software you use. A lot of people use Square,
yes,
um, and they'll allow them to invoice from Square, so they'll make reports for you. Some people use Wave apps, which is another QuickBooks. But what you want to be careful of, and you definitely want to talk to your accountant about, is the reconciling of payment transactions. So if you're using Stripe and you're using PayPal, and different methods, they typically charge a processing fee. You want to reconcile that and then make sure that it's not double reconciling and messing your numbers up. So I personally recommend you starting to choose your accountant early so that you can ask them about that ahead of time and they'll most likely give you instructions of what to do because doing that ahead of time is going to help them in the long run when it's time for them to file your taxes. So genuinely they'll give you some input on that.
Think about it like this, right? I know I'm gonna get the process confused, but I want to say PayPal is like 2.9% plus something else.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, but let's say you made $100,000. It all went through PayPal. They processed it. They're going to take 2.9%. You got to make sure you write that off in your taxes. And to Nia's point, a lot of people miss out on that. And so you're giving Uncle Sam money for free because you're going to pay more taxes than you would have. Because you got to remember, when you're a business owner, you're a little different than a 9 to 5 person, right? 9 to 5 people, they make their money. Government gets their cut first. When you're a business owner, you get to pay all your bills first. Government get their cut last. And the taxes is based upon the money you made minus the expenses you had. So you want to make sure you got all your expenses that you incurred, and you want to make sure that you reconcile it right, record it right, so you don't overpay in taxes.
So I have to ask, what is the BOI form?
BOI, beneficial ownership interest.
Beneficial ownership. Funny thing is, for my business bank account, I had to submit a BOI form.
Okay,
That was just the requirement when opening the account that I had to submit one.
right. So,
Long before it was an IRS requirement. But I would love for you to talk about that because the amount of videos I have seen, like fear mongering about this form.
well, listen, I get it. People don't do nothing unless they fear. Sadly, a lot of people are lazy. But I don't like fear mongering because most times it's lies. I don't like lying. But what is BOI? BOI again, beneficial ownership interest form. This is a form that was created by the U.S. Treasury and FinCEN. What's FinCEN? FinCEN is Financial Crime Enforcement Network. And so the Treasury created FinCEN because there's a lot of people that launder money, embezzle money. There's a lot of terrorism, so-called terrorism going on, and they want to guard against that. Now, I don't think, for the record, I don't think the BOI form is the best way to go about it, but that's what we have, and I don't need to make any smoke. I got other problems. So I just file the form. The form really doesn't take that long. And here's another thing, and I'm just going to tie back to LLCs. So if you have an LLC that you've had prior to, let's see, 2024, you have to file that BOI form by the end of this year, by 12/31 this year. Now, if you create an LLC or corporation or trust, you have to file a BOI form. Excuse me, let me back up. If you file or created an LLC, corporation, some other kind of entity in the year of 2024, you now have to create your entity within 31 days. Or excuse me, file your FinCEN form, BOI form, within 30 days of creation, if it's 2024 or after. So it's something you definitely want to stay on top of. But guess what? If you don't have no LLC, because you didn't need one, you can avoid the BOI form, right? Again, a lot of people don't have it. But again, they doing this to track people who are owning these LLCs and these corporations and things like that to get a better handle on this. Again, the IRS can do it differently. The United States Treasury can do it differently, but they opted not to. But don't pay anybody for that. I've seen people charge like
Can you say that again?
$500 for these forms. And again, if you don't have time, I get it. But if you are just starting to do it yourself, it takes 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes. Sometimes not even that long.
Right. So that's the important thing about it. They know it's an easy form to fill out for you. So that's why they're marketing like, oh, I can fill it out. I can do it for you. I can, process it. But that's why it's important to educate yourself. Like, and I tell people quick, like, even with what I teach, double check it, Google me, don't just take somebody's word for it because they say that, oh, this form is so, especially if it sounds like what they're saying is horrifying. Like, especially that's more reason to research and look into it.
First of all,
So,
fact check. But
yes, fact check. Now, okay, I'm filing. I got my BOI form filled in. It took me, 10 minutes because, it was my first time. So it took me 10 minutes. So I'm filing my taxes. Now, what's the difference in me filing? So let's just say I open my LLC. So this is my first year in business as an LLC.
right.
What's going to be different about filing my taxes now than filing it before I had the LLC?
See, there's no difference.
I know that's what I wanted you to say.
You file
All
it.
these questions is me just setting you up to
No,
answer.
that's cool. You're helping me. Like I said, I'm setting up the LLC tech guy, and I'm going to be doing a lot of articles and videos. So you're getting my mind ready to go.
Good. I can get plenty of questions because I get them all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, send them to me.
Mhm,
I mean, I get a lot too, but the more the merrier.
mhm.
But no, you would listen if you started a business, like I said, selling bottled water on a corner or cutting grass. You have to do what's called a Schedule C on your 1040 return, your personal return. If you get what's called a solo member LLC, which most people have,
Mhm.
requirement is the same. Guess what? IRS doesn't care about LLCs. LLCs are really more about state organizations, state protection, state entities, and it's more of a legal liability shield or protection. It actually
Correct.
doesn't do anything for your taxes.
Means nothing to them.
Right. Absolutely not.
Now, what I do want to say is, um, I know we're talking about LLCs, but I do want to make this honorable mention because I think this is something that people don't know as much either. People are real quick to say, "Oh, we're going to open a business together. We're going to open a business together," and they open a business as a partnership.
Yep.
And I feel like people need to know when you're opening a business as a partnership, it's going to shift some things from your single member LLC. It's going to be different. It's going to be other requirements that you have to adhere to. Your taxes are going to be possibly more expensive to file.
Correct.
And especially if you have multiple businesses and then you have that partnership, you're really going to see the difference between the filing of the different businesses. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that would be fabulous.
Sure. So again, you don't want to do candles no more. I say, all right, Nia, I say, I'm spending way too much on candles. Right. We're gonna do it together. So it's Camari and Nia's candle shop now, right? We have to form what's called a partnership or a multi-member LLC. All that means
Ooh,
is we gotta file
move faster, move faster. No, I'm sorry.
we gotta file partnership tax return, 1065 tax return. Yes, it's more expensive. I know I
Mm-hmm.
tried for it. Because it's more work when you do it properly. But there are some things you want to do. You want to have an operating agreement. What if Nia says, Gamari, I don't like you no more. I'm tired of your funky, stinky fragrances and your scents. You need to go. Get rid of these black candles. Okay, where do we go now? Put, I don't know, $5,000 into the business. Nia put $5,000 into the business. What do we do? Well, you should be going to that agreement that y'all agreed upon up front to figure out
So
how I want
say
to.
that again. When you decided to go into business, you need an agreement.
Correct.
You need an agreement. What happens if somebody doesn't want to be here anymore? What are we going to do? What happens to the business? Does it shut down? Is it liquidated?
Right.
Are you able to buy them out?
And also, there are a lot of husband and wife teams, or let's say
Mhm.
spousal unit teams, because
Mhm.
everybody knows husband and wife these days, right? But you have spouses who are going into business together. Sometimes there should be a little bit more consideration instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to file an LLC. because sometimes it's actually better to hire the spouse. That's a little tip for y'all. Might be better to hire the spouse than to actually bring the spouse on as a partner.
Come through with the nuggets.
I try. I try. I'm old. I've been around for a long time.
But that's why you got that knowledge, though. You got that knowledge and that information,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
which is what we need. I told y'all he got mad at me talking about calling him a nerd, but I mean,
Listen, when we was growing up, being in the culinary wasn't cool. That just got cool. And
I
I'm
don't
from,
care.
I'm
I've been
so,
a nerd. I didn't care if it was cool or not.
but did you identify yourself as a nerd?
Hmm.
I did.
I had straight A's, top of my class. I was either number one or number two my entire elementary school career.
Smart. She's smart.
Hmm. I like it. Fine, leave me alone. But I wasn't that nerd like that you could pick on. I
Uh,
wasn't that nerd.
I got,
Like
I got
I was a nerd, but don't push me. Don't push me. We don't have a problem. Um, but that's another conversation. So giving all that we've talked about the BOI form, we've talked about filing your taxes, preparing for your taxes. So back in the day, it used to be keep all your paper receipts. Now you don't have paper receipts. Most of your receipts, and you might still have some paper receipts, but most of your receipts are going to be electronic. Even if it is in paper, they'll ask you, do you want us to email you a copy? Typically, what I personally do is I create a folder in my email.
smart.
So typically for all my business transactions, I have one email that I'm giving everybody. And I create a folder every year, and it's receipts 2022, receipts 2023. So I can go at the end of the year or at the end of that month, if I know I'm reconciling, I can go there and get whatever receipts that I have the email confirmation for. I'm going to print to PDF and then I'm going to attach it to that transaction in my bookkeeping software or whatever I'm using to track it so that when I send that to my accountant or I add my accountant to the software as my service provider, I have it attached and I didn't run myself crazy searching my email, not being able to find things. So
Now,
that's just a say what?
I was going to say something. 2 points. For those who don't do digital,
Go ahead.
make sure you take a picture of that receipt because this is what
Because it's gonna fade.
they fade. I can't tell you, well, they don't do it no more because I don't take it, but people you really used to bring me bags of receipts, right? And they fade.
Uh,
And it seems like,
but back in the day, that's what you did. You saved the receipts and you put them all in the same bag. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. But now it seems like the ink is fading even faster. I don't know why, but just take a picture of the receipt, especially for y'all. If you're doing like an official business dinner, make sure you take a picture of the receipt and make sure you document that receipt, who you're having dinner with or lunch or whatever.
hmm.
What's the purpose of for that meeting and the date of that meeting? Now, a lot of those things are actually on the receipt, but here's the thing a lot of people don't think about. You can write off something and you can get the deduction. I mean, yeah, you can get a deduction or the credit, and you might not get caught for it right away. But nobody's thinking about the IRS audits. And the
Mhm.
IRS audits happen a couple of ways. Sometimes they're random, right? They just throw a name in a hat. If your name gets picked, you're getting audited. Two, you might do something really crazy or really egregious, like you write off a pink Range Rover and try to say it's for your business. And they come back and they say, why did you write this off, this pink Range Rover? Because you are doing some kind of pink campaign with your business. Well, the IRS has this thing called ordinary and necessary. An expense needs to be ordinary and necessary to be deemed a legitimate and bona fide an expense. And if they say, well, it's not really legitimate, for example,
We got some we got some questions when you finish.
cool, cool. For example, me and Nia, again, our candle company, right? And the candle
Thriving
company,
business.
what's that?
I said my thriving business.
Right, so we're gonna make $1 million with candles. But let's say we want to buy a pink Range Rover for our business. and we get picked for an order, they're going to say, "Hey, what are you using this business vehicle for?" I don't know. I just like to drive around with the vehicle. It's just like it. But what business use is it? Are you driving it to business meetings? Are you going to see vendors and things? Are you keeping track of your mileage? Right, to really bona fide document all that? Most people are going to say no. What's what happened is you get what's called disallowed, or the expense gets disallowed, and typically your tax bill will go up. And so again, that thing usually doesn't happen right away. It usually happens 3 to 5 to 6, 7 years later, when most people aren't even thinking about their taxes 5 years ago, but they didn't have any documentation for it, right? So you always want to keep documentation. They call that substantiation. That's the fancy term the IRS uses. But I hope that helps some people. What are the questions there?
So the question is, in your no, what form is needed to file an extension as a business and for a W-2 worker?
So that depends. But I want to say the way you phrase that question, I'll say it 4868. But that extension was due April 15th. If you did not file it April 15th, you can't file it. So what I would
Ooh.
suggest you do is file your taxes ASAP. Now, if you don't owe the IRS any money, you're good. If you do owe the IRS money, that interest and penalty will start. They have what's called a non-filing interest and penalty um, penalty. You want to start getting them taxes done right away, so they don't accrue interest on your money. It gets really tricky at times.
Okay, next question. In your opinion, should people have both a trust and a will to leave assets to children? The assets they have are home, cars, and stocks.
So I'm not a lawyer. Anytime you're dealing with a trust, you have a lawyer involved. I'm seeing a lot of trust LLC.
Conversations.
Yeah, the LLC trust machine is working overtime.
Ooh,
So
well, Waka Flocka doing it.
oh, you must have saw that video I did. But
No,
Waka
I didn't. I saw the clip of Waka Flocka, like, and it just amazes me. Like, it's a 60-second clip. Like, please do more research. Fact, like you said, fact check it.
but here's the thing. Let's talk about that because I did do a review on that. People have been asking me to do a review of that for like the last 2 years. I just did it. Number one, if you ain't got Waka Flocka money, Waka Flocka situations don't.
You should not be doing Waka Flocka doing.
Right. It doesn't matter.
And I'm the first one to say I don't have Waka Flocka money.
Listen, a lot of people may not know about Waka, but Waka's got several hit songs. He's in Atlanta. You're in Georgia, right? He tours a lot. He makes a good amount of money, probably several $1 million a year, right? So more than likely, your average person doesn't make several $1 million a year. So when we're looking at trust, the one thing I want people to think about, right? There are two types of trust. There's irrevocable and revocable. You also have people talking about these living trusts. A living trust is a revocable trust. Any monies or anything you might do with your revocable trust should be filed on your tax return. For example, if you have money in the bank and you're getting interest in your living trust, it still gets filed on your tax return. All right, that's your personal tax return. That's number one. Number two, I live in the great city of Philadelphia, and we have an aging population, a lot of seniors, and our real estate taxes have been going up tremendously, sometimes 50 to 60% in a year. So big, big games. You cannot qualify for some of the programs they have for some of the seniors. They have one that's called the Homestead Act, right? So my dad's a senior, he's 78, and he was asking me about a trust. And I said, well, Dad, if you do that, you won't get the Homestead Act, which gives you tax relief. Why won't you get the Homestead Act? Because it's no longer an owner occupied premises or residence. It's owned by a trust. So
The
now,
next part of it is the loan if you still have a mortgage. As an
Correct.
investor, if you still have a mortgage and you put your property in a trust, it's no longer owned by you, and you are the one who signed the lending agreement with the mortgage company. So they essentially can call the loan due immediately if they so choose to.
That is correct. Now, supposedly there's a way around that, but either way, I think most of us want a simplistic life. I know
Yeah,
me.
and I think it depends on the terms of your lending agreement.
Correct. Correct.
Because
I say all that to say, 9 times out of 10, the benefit for getting a trust a lot of times does not equal the tax savings. So you got to really check. Now, there are some situations where it makes sense, but a
if you
lot,
have somebody who's not fiscally responsible and that's who all your money's going to go to, if you don't do anything, I think that's a great reason to get
correct.
trust
It can be. It can be.
and
But,
give it some rules and
but,
stipulations.
right. But again, I'm not a lawyer, right? Me is not a lawyer. Talk to a lawyer. However, a will and a trust are two separate things. They do two separate things. Usually you need them both. If you want to trust, having a trust does not exclude the need for having a will. You still need a will. They're two different things. That's question, man.
That is all of the questions that we have today, and it's actually 6:24. So we have made it to an hour. That's the notification for my 6:30.
Oh, that was fast.
So, and I need to grab something to eat too within those 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, thank you so much for
No, thank
all the
you.
knowledge, the tips, the gems that you dropped. I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate you. I'm going to put your current information in the comments, well, not the comments, in the description. So when you do come out with your thing and you have your stuff set up and it's live, let me know. And I will go back and edit the description on YouTube and put your new information there. So then people will be able to find you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great one. This has been great. Such dope information that I feel like people need, but they really don't get. It's like they skip over many steps, and it's not, it's not always intentional. A lot of times it's just that they just don't know. And you only can go off what you know. So that's why things like this is why I do this. This is why I bring my people up here, because we all need to know. So on that end, I'm gonna end the live stream.